Beyond Belief. Fact or Fiction. Hosted by Jonathan Frakes. Tonight, your challenge is to separate what is true from what is false. 5 stories, some real, some fake. Can you judge which are fact and which are fiction? To find out, you must enter a world of both truth and deception. A world that is beyond belief.
Blood is not only thicker than water, it's also more informative. Through the analysis of blood types, chemical makeup, and DNA, we can learn much about a person's family ties, even after that person's been dead for centuries. Samples of Thomas Jefferson's DNA have proved this point. Of course, most of us don't need to submit to extensive testing to confirm our family relationships. We have only to look in the mirror to get the genetic links to our parents and our siblings. Lorene has never felt that way. She's never looked like or acted like her parents. And all her questions are about to be put under a microscope.
I was about to marry my childhood sweetheart. We were perfect for each other. We had absolutely everything in common. Of course, to get our marriage license, the state required a blood test. That's when an old fear of mine was confirmed, and I had to confront it with my mother.
Sweetheart, you don't really believe you were adopted.
I'm sorry, Mother, but I do. You and Dad are both blood type A. It wouldn't be possible for me to be blood type B. I always suspected I was adopted. Now I have proof.
I broke these. You've seen them before. They were all taken when you were a little girl. Do you remember me telling you about the night you were born? The blizzard? Your arrival wasn't exactly convenient, but it was a blessing.
I never said I didn't feel loved, but I was always different. My interests, my talents, the only blonde in a family of brunettes and taller.
And you grew so fast. But look how beautiful you turned out.
But Mom, the blood test
was wrong. The lab made a mistake.
You're still not convinced?
I could have been adopted as a newborn. But why would they lie? Is there some awful family secret?
Honey, you have terrific parents. And someday, when we have children, they'll be terrific grandparents. So even if you really were adopted, so what?
So what?
That's in the past, honey. And right now, we have a wedding to plan and a future to consider.
I can't possibly think about the future until I know my history. Don, I'm sorry, but I can't marry you until I know the truth.
Honey, we're soulmates, remember? We're born to be married. It's our destiny.
Best friends, born on the same day, New Year's babies. If I was adopted, maybe my birthday really isn't January 1st. Maybe that's a lie, too. I've always loved that we had the same birthday. It was something extra special that we shared.
Well, I'll still love you either way. But if it's important to you, we'll find out the truth. Together.
Well, these are the old files from before everything was done on computers. The medical records you're asking about are here, somewhere. You know, I could get somebody to do this for you. Maybe take a few days.
I really need to find the record today, thanks.
Okay. Need anything else? Come get me.
This is it. Here's a copy of your birth certificate.
January 1st. Length, weight, parents, Russell and Edna Atkins. So I'm legit.
And here's the emergency room admitting form. Time of arrival. Patient already in labor. It's all by the book, honey.
Wasn't adopted after all.
Relieved?
It's odd. Someone wrote boy, then crossed it out, and wrote girl.
Well, you're definitely a girl. I can vouch for that.
Maybe we're not done.
It's odd. We don't usually deliver babies in the emergency room. There's a maternity ward for that.
Well, it was January 1st. There was a blizzard. With the bad roads, my parents barely got to the hospital in time.
73. You know, I remember that night. I was an attendant nurse. New Year's Eve, power lines were down. The hospital was working on backup generators. Ice on the highway caused some awful accidents. We were doing double shifts to care for the injured.
And 2 women in labor came in that night.
And look, on my mother's admitting form, baby boy is written and then marked out.
Well, it was so hectic, I suppose the nurse wrote it down wrong and then the doctor corrected it.
I was born the same night, in the middle of the same chaos. But my mother's record said baby girl, but it's crossed out and changed to boy.
Well, one boy baby and one girl baby. The paperwork must have been mixed up.
Is it possible that the paperwork wasn't mixed up, but that the babies were?
An impossible story, or is it? Is it too much to believe that 2 people raised by different families could fall deeply in love and turn out to have been switched at birth? Certainly switched at birth stories have become more common over the years, but one combined with a love story strains credibility. But it's now up to you to decide the truth or falsehood of our story. Have we presented you with the facts, or have we pulled a last-minute switch?
We'll tell you whether this story is true or false at the end of our show. Next, the spirits of Halloween are out for revenge on Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
Next to Christmas, the most publicized and merchandised holiday is Halloween. Pumpkin patches are as numerous as Christmas tree lights. Every year, millions are spent on costumes, decorations, and of course, trick-or-treat candy. But like Christmas, Halloween has its Scrooges too. Take Harold Ratcher. Harold not only hates the holiday, he's a troublemaker. And the trouble he makes is for anyone foolish enough to ring his bell on Halloween night. And so we come to another year and another Halloween. But beware, because on this Halloween, nobody can predict what we'll find. Every community has a home like the Ratcher house. It's the one owned by the meanest man in town. Luckily, the townspeople didn't have to interact with Harold much. He lived on the other side of the bridge. The only time anyone bothered to cross the creek to see him at all was on Halloween.
Storm's blowing in.
Hope it waits a while so children won't be disappointed. You know, it's Halloween tonight. Thought I'd put some candy in a bowl.
Ain't gonna be no kids coming by here tonight. Not after the lesson I taught them last year.
I wouldn't be so proud of that, Harold Ratcher. You scared those children so badly, one had to go to the hospital.
Well, they were trespassing on my property. Time was, I was with 2 spread out around here for kids to come begging for treats. Besides, I won that case in court.
The town's grown up. Suburbs are just to the other side of the bridge now. Have to expect some children coming over.
Yeah, with their greedy hands out, playing tricks on anybody who doesn't give in to their extortion.
They're just harmless little children.
Yeah, well, what about the year they covered the tree in toilet paper? Smashed raw eggs in the mailbox? Well, mind you, any little hoodlums come across that bridge tonight, they'll wish they hadn't.
Oh, what frightening costumes. You know how I feel about that.
Don't play by the rules. Halloween's a 2-way street. They wear scary costumes, so can I.
Harold, don't. Here you are. There. They don't all fall for your nonsense.
You're a little big for a trick-or-treat, huh?
So are you.
In this weather? I see you out there! Get out of here, you rotten kid!
Harold, who are you hollering at?
Some kid. He has a dummy dressed up to look just like me and...
It's like I told you, up to no good. Probably trying to get even after last year.
I don't see anybody out there. You're making more out of this than need be.
You think so, huh? It's just the truth.
Of course. What else would it be? I don't know what you're getting yourself all worked up about, but I'm going to bed before you do the same to me.
Should have cut those branches. They're gonna be scraping all night.
Whoa! Whoa! Lousy kid! For the love of Pete!
I think my husband's having a heart attack. No, he doesn't have a history. He said some boy was terrorizing him. He's shaking, can hardly breathe. Please hurry. It'll take a while for the ambulance. The storm flooded the creek. The bridge between us and town washed away hours ago.
That's impossible. The bridge washed away. Then how did a kid in a monster suit get over to our house?
Was Harold Ratcher victimized by his own cruel imagination? Or did someone sneak across the bridge before the rain washed it out? Someone who was perhaps out for revenge against Harold Ratcher. Or was the culprit, as some think, Harold's wife, Mary? But then how do you explain the Grim Reaper? It couldn't possibly have been her, could it? In this tale of trick or treat, have we opened the door of truth? Or are we leaving you holding the bag?
We'll tell you whether this story is true or false at the end of our show. Next, a young woman lives with the ghost of her favorite cat on Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
Do you have a pet? Chances are it's a dog or a cat. And while dogs retain the title of man's best friend, cat owners number over 27 million in the United States alone. These are a few of the products aimed at feline fanciers. Wendy Baker is a proud cat lover. In fact, you might say that the attention she pays to her cat, named Precious, is obsessive. It's enough attention to fill a lifetime, or, for that matter, 9 lifetimes.
As a child psychologist, I had worked with hundreds of cases, but never before had I entered a situation not knowing the nature of the problem. The parents urged me to meet their daughter with them in their own home. I guess they felt if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I'd never believe it.
Oh, she actually takes better care of the cat than she does herself. You know, we moved about 6 months ago. Wendy was upset about leaving her old school and her friends, so we thought we'd get her Precious.
I tried to explain to her we had to relocate for this job I was taking, but, well, you know, kids.
Oh, and Wendy really loved that cat. I mean, Precious slept on her bed every night on a special pillow, followed Wendy around like a shadow. It was really sweet.
Well, where's the cat?
Oh, well, about 2 months ago, it ran out into the street.
And Wendy hasn't gotten over the loss.
No, we figured give her a little time.
Yeah, but it's been 2 months. It's a little bizarre.
Maybe I should have agreed to seek out help sooner, but kids, teenagers, they're supposed to act eccentric.
You know, at first we thought it was some sort of hallucination. And then we thought she was doing it on purpose just to make us angry. And now we don't know what to think, except that she is taking this way too far, and we really need some help.
What do you mean by eccentric?
Oh. Hi.
Hey, Pumpkin.
Hey, Wendy, this is the doctor we talked about.
Hi, Wendy. I'm Dana. Dana White.
Hello? We asked Dr. White to talk to you.
Oh. About Precious? Mm-hmm. Good, baby. You're hungry today, huh? Did you miss me? I missed you too. You know, I've got that algebra test tomorrow. I'm going to study.
She pretends Precious is still alive.
The food actually disappears. In the morning, it's half eaten.
And my husband thinks that maybe Wendy is actually...
Have you tried to make her stop?
Well, for a while, we went along with the charade. We thought maybe it would be better for her, but then last week, we finally confronted her. We told her how we felt and begged her to stop.
And the next morning, we found this.
She told us Precious was upset.
I have an idea. I'd like to tell Wendy that I want to photograph Precious. Maybe she'll warm up to me more quickly that way. Would you mind if I used your camera?
And play right into her fantasy?
This is a strange case, Mr. Baker. I'm willing to do anything that might help Wendy. I can't say I have a lot of experience in situations like this, but something in my gut just tells me that this is the right move. Is there film in that camera?
Well, it looks like it's loaded, only 11 shots used. We haven't used it in a while.
Okay, let's give it a try.
Great.
Come in.
Hey, Wendy. I know you want to study, but I was hoping we could talk for a few minutes. Just to get to know one another.
They just don't get it. I don't need a shrink. They need glasses.
It's a nice room.
Yeah, it's all right. The old house was nicer.
Your parents say you spend a lot of time in here.
Yeah, well, they won't leave me alone out there. They're always mad.
About Precious? Hey, how would you feel if I took some pictures of Precious?
Are you trying to make me like you?
A little.
Sure. Go ahead, take her picture. She always loves taking her afternoon naps in this pillow.
Oh, hey?
You scaredy cat. Did that sound frighten you? It's okay, Precious. It's just a camera.
Hey, how about if I take a picture of you holding Precious?
Sure. Okay.
Great. That's beautiful. I was surprised to receive a call the next day. Mrs. Baker asked if I could come right over, so I did.
Hi. I called my husband, but he's not here yet. Please come in. I just got back from the photo lab.
Now I knew why Mrs. Baker was so upset.
What's the explanation here? How could an image of Precious show up in the photograph? Remember, the roll of film was already in the camera. Was there an old photographic image left over from when Precious was still alive? Perhaps a double exposure? If so, why were there no other images of Precious on that same roll? Or is it possible that Precious still existed on some spiritual level? A soul that could be seen and felt by the person who loved him most, Wendy Baker. Does this story of the invisible cat deserve to be deposited in the bank of truth? Or have we tossed another lie into the kitty?
We'll tell you whether this story is true or false at the end of our show. Next, a showdown with death at a roadside motel on Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
Observe. Keys that unlock doors to hotel and motel rooms. Something most of us take for granted. But think about the mysteries that exist in the simple act of opening a motel door. Who has stayed here before? What activities took place here? Has anything been left behind? And what will await you during your stay? In most cases, those questions are unimportant. But for Joe Bender and his wife Angie, this key is more than a device to open their door. It's a passport to the unexplained.
My husband was once a good cop, but the years on the force had made him cold and hard about criminals. And lately he was burned out and getting himself into big trouble. His suspension gave us a chance to take a few days for ourselves, something we really needed. I wanted to believe in Joe, but I knew the police force had changed him. He wasn't the same man I married.
You got a quiet room.
They're all quiet around here. California license. You and the missus on vacation?
Just getting away for a while.
23. Round up.
This trip will be good for both of us. I don't care if I ever see LA again. I had seen the old woman's reaction to the paper through the office window. She knew who Joe was, all right. I just wish I did. And then something totally strange happened.
Hey!
Joe, what are you doing?
I thought I saw...
My God, did you hurt yourself?
It's blood.
I couldn't get Joe to change rooms. He just wanted this one cleaned up. I was feeling very uncomfortable.
Well, it's gone now.
Strange place.
Unbelievable.
Are you okay?
Sure. I'm not gonna let them beat me.
Honey, it's all this stress you've been under. The way these internal affairs people in the press have hounded you.
Those bastards. After everything I've given. And the courts, the courts, they protect the guilty. And don't think that I don't know which ones are guilty. That guy crucifying me over. Punk. He deserved everything that he got.
Just try and get some rest.
What the hell do you want?
What's the matter, Joe?
You wanted me to go for my gun.
Who? What are you talking about? We're alone, Joe.
No.
There's no one here. You're dreaming. Joe.
He was here. He was right here. We gotta get out of here.
Joe.
Come on. Wake up! Hey! Hey, right now, you're gonna tell me what's in our room. What is it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't lie to me.
Joe!
I only know what other people have told me.
What?
A long time ago, a man named William Bonney was killed in an unfair gunfight, and some people believe that his spirit remained here.
You're telling me that this hotel is haunted?
William Bonney died on this ground. I've never seen him, but I'll tell you this. Tonight isn't the first night that I've had to mop up blood.
I'm gonna go get our stuff. You stay here. We're checking out.
Do you really believe all this about a ghost?
A lot of people believe it. Some think he's waiting on a chance for revenge. You see, in that gunfight, William Bonney was shot dead by a lawman.
Did Joe Bender fall prey to a ghost? Or was he the victim of his own guilty conscience? Did his stressful situation lend to his own suicide? Or was his demise caused by the spirit of Billy the Kid, a man who was unfairly shot to death years ago by another lawman? In judging the merits of this story, you must decide the winner of the showdown that takes place every day. Truth versus falsehood.
We'll tell you whether this story is true or false at the end of our show. Next, a married couple encounter a strange drifter on Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
These are all things that come in handy when your car gets a flat tire. Of course, many people choose to just stay in their car and call the auto club. But sometimes phones aren't available. The husband in our next story isn't very handy. But like most men, he takes a certain pride in his ability to read his manual and change a tire in any situation. But the strange situation he and his wife are about to encounter isn't covered in any manual.
When we started to David's mother's house that morning, we were already arguing. I was completely on edge because I love David, but I knew our marriage was slipping away. I'd feel better if you put on your seatbelt.
Just stop worrying. You look fine. Your dress is fine.
You're not listening to me. Besides which, I'm wearing slacks.
Whatever, you look all right.
Whenever we visit your mother, I feel like I'm being scrutinized.
You're imagining things. My mother is not that critical.
Really? Then why do you always feel like you have to please her?
Yeah, you're not in competition with her, Rebecca. I make plenty of time for you.
Oh, just like you make time for your boss, your friends, your golf buddies? You always make me feel like I'm last in line.
You know, when I'm working late, it's for us. When I'm golfing with a client, it's for us. I understand how you feel.
You don't notice what I'm wearing when I'm sitting 8 inches away from you. You expect me to believe you understand how I feel?
Great. I think we have a flat.
Can't get any service out here. Are you sure you're doing that right?
You know, these tires are new. There's no reason for this to be flat.
Looks like you need help.
The guys at the tire center, they use a power drill.
Let me try.
Knock yourself out. Where'd he come from?
I don't know. Is this a good idea?
We'll give him a couple of bucks.
Sometimes the direction we choose is not the right one.
You were turning the wrench the wrong way.
It's not a wrench, it's a tire iron. My mom is not going to be happy.
Sometimes we try to please so many others, we lose sight of those who are most important. The ones we truly love. It's easy to take them for granted. They're always there for us.
Yeah, well, you know, we really appreciate this. Can I give you a lift somewhere?
At first, I was concerned David invited this strange man into our car. I'd feel better if you put on your seatbelt.
So how far are you going?
I'll know when the time comes to leave you.
So, you just travel from place to place? Family must miss you.
You know, I envy you. Doing whatever you want, not having anyone to answer to, complete freedom. Life's just one big adventure, huh?
That it is. But when you see how much can be gained when two join together as one, to have someone who knows your private, most personal pain and can replace it with joy, that is an adventure.
Yeah, well, everything takes work.
Life is work. Any heavy load can be made lighter when two work together, as opposed to pulling in opposite directions. When love is held in an open hand, it can flourish instead of being crushed.
It's like you know us. David? Oh my God, he's gone! He's gone!
What the hell's...
He must have fallen out.
Oh, he's wearing his seatbelt?
After searching the area and not finding him, we felt like we needed to report what happened. So when David spotted a police officer, we pulled over.
Just was there and...
Gone.
I've been up and down the stretch of highway so many times, I know every crack in the pavement. I could look for that drifter, but I won't find him. You're the fourth couple that's told me this story. And that's just this week.
Come on, honey, we gotta go. When we finally arrived at David's mother's house, things were different. She sensed something had happened, something that brought us closer together. It was as if our wedding vows had been respoken, and we owed it all to that drifter, whoever or whatever he was.
So was the strange hitchhiker that disappeared from the car a ghost? If he was real, how did he disappear from the back seat? Some who don't believe in spirits have suggested that perhaps the hitchhiker was a professional escape artist. If so, what could have led him to spend his life lending spiritual enlightenment to drivers along the highway? Drifter? Angel? Or ghost? Is this story of a stranger who hopped a ride true? Or is there a hitch to it?
Next, you'll find out which of our stories are fact and which are fiction when Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction returns.
Now it's time to find out which of our stories was inspired by an actual event and which ones are total fiction. What was your opinion of the story of the couple in love who turned out to be switched at birth?
Well, it was so hectic, I suppose the nurse wrote it down wrong and then the doctor corrected it.
I was born the same night, in the middle of the same chaos. But my mother's record said baby girl, but it's crossed out and changed to boy.
One boy baby and one girl baby. The paperwork must have been mixed up.
Is this one too fantastic to be true? Not really. Our research shows that a similar story took place involving a couple in the Northeast around the late 70s. Now let's take a look at the evil Halloween Scrooge who was paid back for his treachery by an unexplainable force. Trick or treat?
I see you out there!
Did you think our research staff found a story inspired by an actual event? Not this time. It's the creation of a writer. How did you judge the story of the girl with the imaginary cat that turned out to be more than just imagination?
Hey, how'd you feel if I took some pictures of Precious?
Are you trying to make me like you?
A little.
Sure. Go ahead, take her picture. She always loves taking her afternoon naps in this pillow.
Oh, hey?
Did we make up this story of the young woman obsessed by a cat that nobody but her could see? No. This story is inspired by an actual event that took place near Paris in the mid-50s. What did you make of the tale of the crooked policeman who apparently received his revenge from the ghost of Billy the Kid? Was this one true?
You're gonna tell me what's in our room. What is it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Lie to me.
No!
I only know what other people have told me.
What?
A long time ago, a man named William Bonney was killed in an unfair gunfight, and some people believe that his spirit remained here.
You're telling me that this hotel is haunted?
According to our research, a similar event to this one did occur in a period between the world wars in the American Southwest. It's fact. Now let's review the story of the mysterious hitchhiker who changed the lives of a married couple. True or false?
There's no reason for this to be flat.
Looks like you need help.
If you thought this one was based on an actual event, you're right. It's a story that has been reported by travelers along a highway in New York State. It's fact. How was your perception tonight? Did it stay constant or did it change before your eyes? The perception of truth must include the awareness of falsehood. But where does one begin and the other let off? That's the challenge of discerning fact from fiction. And that's why we're often left with a choice that's beyond belief. I'm Jonathan Frakes.
The story entitled For the Record is true, based upon first-hand research conducted by author Robert Trelins. For Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, this is Don LaFont.